Daily trading recap for this Wednesday, the 8th of June, 2022. To Christ be the glory. Dollar volume quick first before anything else. NASDAQ $185 billion volume as of 2 hours, 30 minutes after the close here, 40 minutes after the close. NYSE $264 billion volume. OTC Markets $2.1 billion volume on the day. Again, all automated algorithmic futures trading through the modalities of just MES today for where my account size is still currently sitting, just keeping super small size and going along with what my back-tested data and little spreadsheets, reading the story that they're telling and going along with those parameters that they have set in the time frames that I've set on those with the 9:30 to 9:45 time frame, the 3:45 to close time frame, and of course the very, very small upside profit target strategy for the full session wide for the futures aspect there. So 9:30 to 9:45 strategy worked out well in data reflection. I mishandled it and tried to, obviously I have a smaller downside profit target strategy when that 9:30 minute candle hits, and then a little bit larger upside profit target. So the downside profit target got hit within those first 3 minutes there, and then I looked to buy, also just kind of find that as a little bit of play and a little bit of just the speculation and discretionary trading in that sense of, hey man, it's pulling pretty hard, and we're kind of already selling pretty hard off on the tick in these first few minutes here. I think this could just have a little tiny quick reclaim to VWAP there. So buying I did within that candle, but sure enough, that for how it was holding, I think it was still buying a little bit too much into the falling knife aspect of it there and got shaken out just for a little break even on that one. And then sure enough, as we're getting to VWAP here, and it's kind of looking like it's stalemating and not really going to produce anything greater or beyond where opening price was for that first minute, for the first open of the market hour session there, I got a little hesitant and ended up cutting that upside profit target trade in this little VWAP hold here, thinking that it was going to reject off of there and I was going to be saving myself more losses should it not have risen any higher than that, and it should have started falling closer to that 9:45 minute time frame. But sure enough, once again, I'm here slapped in the face with the reality of trust the freaking time frame and if you're going to use that as your stop, use it as your freaking stop. Quit making it discretionary. And here's just another one of these that I'm cutting my profits short and cutting that trade prematurely short, no pun intended, for what it should do. There's going to be the times that I'm going to save myself, and I think that's where I get that temptation to do things like this today, of times that I save myself from taking a little bit more of a loss, and other times that I think more times than not, days like today where I just ended up cutting a trade short that would have ended up working out to fruition of how these things work, what the story the market has been saying the past 120 days has been saying. So another lesson on that one for today. I think it was just especially today too, because I had a full day today, no real world job for me to go to today, that there was just that little bit of hint of, oh, okay, well now I can play around with it a little bit more. I can be in front of the screens a little bit longer. I did do some more research and studying, getting back into that groove a little bit for this free day. And actually did take a little paper position on another long ticker here that'll be excited to watch over tomorrow and the next few days potentially on that one. But back to the futures, 3:45 to close strategy. Obviously the downside profit target on that one worked for this hard sell-off it had immediately at that 3:45 minute candle mark, but did not find any recovery or any real oomph back above that opening price there. So that one was a miss on the upside profit target for that time frame on that one. And then of course the small upside profit target for the full session on wide one worked today. Other ticket I want to mention that I was through my little tiny reflection, through my little tiny just more getting back a little bit into the groove of, hey, let's do some more research, studying, screen time, watching these charts, and just kind of start experimenting once again and playing our hand with these equities if some opportunities start to come about. We had a few more tickers putting in some nice, decent percentage moves, but in the reality and scheme of them providing supple and pointable measures of, say, oh, that's a very nice entry, to be looking for that for successive plays coming in the next few days as a kind of momentum indicator for that specific chart having today. I just didn't really see it, so I'm still keeping leeriness in everything I'm doing instead of just going gung-ho and throwing full account sizes at these trades, especially since I haven't been taking equity trades in a very long time. But paper trade on Jan today, short sale restricted from previous trading day. We also have had some action on this one on last week, Tuesday, whatever day of the week that one was, but a harder sell-off on that kind of first screen day, and just second day pulling off harder, third day doing nothing, and just death in this Thursday, Friday, Monday here. Tuesday news catalyst that we have was the issuance of a U.S. patent covering blah, 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 method of improving nerve function using blah, 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 whatever kind of garbage that was today. So coming into this second day play, we obviously see this big, huge squeeze here in the afternoon session, squeezing above VWAP, and also using that same mindset of that key line of demarcation that I want to say of an anchored VWAP setup-ish point of perspective to say, okay, we can use this line here where VWAP closed on this day of like 434 around that range to say that could be an average short who's sitting in this trade who's potentially haven't covered in these, if they've not covered as of yet in these following days, of where they could be sitting for these days here, even through this Tuesday, first screen day that spikes above there, still not reaching that level, still allowing comfortability should anybody still be sitting with decent enough size on this very low floater. 2.4 million floater here I'm showing on scans as of right now. And of course, Bioforma, we just love the overall sketchiness of these types of tickers in itself. But of this afternoon squeeze here to scare a few longs, obviously not breaking this high, which could be like the last ditch resort. Kind of Hail Mary, just holding on to it like, oh, well, it didn't break that. If you're still holding through this major squeeze, sitting from a lower cost average price than where price is moving in there, still being able to sit through that and then watch this thing come into the second day, still, not look so crazy strong in the sense of it's pushing these price levels in this $5 key dollar level as well. Rejecting off of there is like, okay, kind of breathe a little fresh air, kind of take a breath on this day here that, okay, we had another little spike above you up here, but it got sold into immediately. Looking at it from the short perspective, and first initially you see on my little arrows here, I looked at this one and saying, okay, if I'm still a short in this one, we're kind of testing this little 3.6-ish line here, and it's kind of looking weak. We're still under VWAP. I could still see some more shorts piling this one. If it starts to break this line, I definitely want to be short. I think it could just die off significantly of how it showed here in this little 4-day stretch of just bringing in nothing. Maybe they throw in some dilution in there, some potential tomfoolery like that, and that'd be a nice little short. And then a few minutes later, as it's continuing to hold that line, I had to totally do a 180 and reverse myself in my thought process of, okay, I'm looking at it from the short perspective to say, oh, if it breaks this line, then it could do these things. But I'm not looking at it from the perspective of, man, it's not really a great risk. What is going to be my risk? Am I going to risk $5 for my position here as a short? Am I going to let it just kind of do that and then say, oh, yeah, it's definitely not going to come back down after it gets above $5 there. That's in no way, shape, or form a good risk reward. That's barely even 1-to-1 for what profit target I'm looking for. But then flipping that perspective on its head to say, from a short, now from the kind of perspective that I was looking at it as a long, I can find even more validation for a trade based on those metrics that I was trying to look at it for the short. So now say, hey, this 3.6 hold, that offers a much, much better risk reward trade. It's holding it decently well. We have plenty of technical lines here from that first day red to green, from the second day red to green, from that average of this 430-ish line here. Many levels of technical resistance potentially overhead to start the catapult further and further up should those lines start to get crossed with volume coming in over tomorrow, over the next few days, if something like that were to happen. This is a sketchy biotech ticker, low float. Those are the characteristics that I want to see for these types of moves here, and this is kind of this is once again the first thesis for a trade on an equity that I've had in a long time, even I think 2 months at least, of taking any position regardless of paper, regardless of real for my cash account. But yeah, sizing in with a little, whatever size it was on the paper side through TradingView there for a little after. It's currently sitting well, decentish now. I got around a 3.7-ish fill there for the reversing of my position and my thought process on this ticker, which, I mean, that's the adaptability aspect of it, right? Of just kind of trying to think that I'm looking at it one way and kind of getting excited because, I think I'm seeing something, and then just trying to immediately throw a position at it because I haven't taken a position in a long time. Oh, everybody else and their grandma's making money. Oh, I just got to start taking positions, right, and experimenting. That's not what I want to do about it. But having realized that, having this reflection here, and then noticing and adjusting to, hey, this does offer an optimal risk-reward setup profile here. This does actually allow me to switch my position instead of just taking myself out of the trade entirely after the reflection and getting out of the FOMO mindset and kind of getting in the real world of big boy pants and saying, okay, yeah, I took this trade with a little bit of haste. It's a presumptuous trade rather than a profitable risk reward trade of what I would be looking for. But finding that opportunity of it here, that allowed me to actually reverse the position to take the long side of it, versus just exiting me out of the whole trade entirely from that little hastily kind of first initial short entry there on paper side of that one. But I'll be excited to see, where pre-market ends up opening tomorrow. I'm not expecting to see pre-market to be producing the price action or price levels that I want to see at this point, but to just in the next day, in the next few days point of time frame, to start to see some escalation, not necessarily to this specific or hard of a slope that happened on this Tuesday here yesterday, but to I still think there are plenty enough of people in there that are crazy enough to be holding through days like this, or to be sizing in more with decent enough volume on the crazy moves like that to then still be sat for potential later moves here in the following days. So that's the trade thesis for this one. And I do like that style of trade and just how I've beaten my head against the wall. I mean, for over a year now, in thinking that, okay, I'm trading first day gappers. I'm trading the big movers, the big dollar volume, the big percentage movers. And yeah, there's obviously a lot of, in the 2020 area, there was a lot of opportunity there and you could just do anything and still make money, right? So that's where I found that convenience. I think most of that I could just come to my pre-market prep and analyzation saying, okay, whatever's on the scanner, that's what I'm trading today. Getting myself out of that groove because it was like, other than a dip and rip pattern, other than a panic dip buy, other than the well-known patterns on first day gappers, on the gap and crappers, on just whatever, pick your poison on that. I mean, there just really wasn't any edge other than, and of course I was never taking anything to the short side on those either. So not really testing myself or the waters in that sense. So getting away from that mindset and then focusing more now towards, hey, let's follow up. Let's follow along with some of these tickers. We're going to watch them do their first day gap move, see how they act, see how they like to present themselves, see what's being said about them, what's the characteristic of this stock. Do we want to continue to watch it over the next few days here to see if it has any lingering side effects? I'm thinking of, just reminiscing of HUSA, of this. It's not a first green day move here play for this specific time frame. It's not a playing this one for the dip and rip move here. It's playing it, following alongside it, and waiting for that key sniper entry to play these stocks. The multi-day moves. That's, I think, really what I'm going towards with on not trying to just force something because that's just what I've been ingrained with of, I have to be trading the big percent movers, the big dollar volume movers, because that's just what I've been told. That's what I've been ingrained with. And that's what I found is most appealing to the eye as well. I've mentioned in past daily trading recaps of, it doesn't have to look good. I mean, nothing of this has to be, appeasing to the eye in a sense. I related to the golf cart score. There's no pictures on the golf cart score. It doesn't matter if you freaking bounced it 300 yards that way and then came back and hold it on your second shot. All you're writing down is a 2. And the same thing with this. It's just about making money. As long as you're making money, nobody cares how it's really made, as long as we're in the legal sense, of course. But it doesn't matter what the specific minute-by-minute candle price action looks like. That doesn't make any difference. And that doesn't have to affect whether or not I trade it or not. It's just all about the ins and outs of the level 2. What's going on in the time and sales? What's going on? What is the story being told? So that's really what I'm getting after more so. And I think finding a little bit more ease of that in the multi-day setups to be able to play it over a little bit longer of a time frame versus the first day gappers that, having to understand that and read that on the time and sales in the microseconds that's going off. That's obviously a lot harder of a key set to grasp or to play off of in that short of a time frame versus these multi-day movers that can happen a little bit over a little bit longer of a time frame that can marinate in the brain a little bit longer, and then finding some nice different areas to dollar cost average into a position or just find some different key metrics like that. So yeah, that is really all I had on the day. Again, just keeping it nice and simple and short, especially over these summer months. I'm not trying to force anything hard for where I'm at currently with my account size, for where my current goals are for the very near immediate term future. Just keeping on. It's one day after the next. It's one foot in front of the other, and I'm extremely thankful for it each and every single day. I thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one.